And I was told so many times, not even by my relatives, but by my teachers as well, school teachers. They said that, oh, guys, men cheat and you have to accept it. Yeah, it was like really, really tough.
Everyone keeps asking, why are they not protesting? And you are, like, every day. And also, like, after the elections, that there were not big protests, but, like, every day there was something or multiple protests.
Yeah.
But I know that it's not affected. That's not the point. But that's the wrong question to ask. Why do you not protest, or why don't you not organize?
Well, after elections, we were very frustrated.
Oh yeah,
and hopeless.
Understandably so, because there was so much effort going to the elections that was not, did not reach any goal because of corruption and vote paying and fraud and so.
Yeah.
So what do you find motivation in now? Like, what's motivating everyone to show up every day if nothing ever worked?
Anger, yeah. We are like on the edge where we realize that we either become slaves or we need to fight. So it's like fight or flight. It's like this situation. I'm always getting angry when Russians start talking to me. I'm against the war and blah blah blah. When they start living here, sometimes. Well, I have my anger problems because of my political history. That he's occupying. He's. Russia occupied more than 20% of Georgia and so on. But I'm like, you can go to your country and protest or do something. Sometimes I had this idea, and then I'm telling myself that, Georgia is in the same situation. After 1 year, we may be in the same situation. So I don't want to run away from Georgia, and then someone may say, why don't you protest in Georgia,
Yeah.
So I'm like, I want to do my best to show that I'm someone who expresses, as I told you, my identity. It is very connected to it. We Georgians have this identity that we fight.
Yeah.
And if we don't fight and we run away, then who we are? We are nothing better than Belarusians, for example. I'm really sorry to speak like that, but I'm talking politically, not about specific people. So,
but do you also gain some empathy for the Russians and the Belarusians because you might be in that situation?
For oppositions, who were in the opposition, But unfortunately, I met lots of Russians who say that they are against of the war, but at the same time they are kind of supporting Russian politics. So I only have empathy towards people who really put effort in any sense and who are respecting others who fight and not supporting Putin. So I'm very selective in that sense. But of course, I kind of understood them more. Yeah, it's really, really tough. You have this feeling of being powerless in this fight. Yeah.
I do think that's, once, because they experienced it years ago. So some people just accepted the situation in apathy. And this is what absolutely, I think that's the biggest enemy also for Georgians, as you said, because if you don't fight, then what you do? What is a Georgian? And there are already people Georgian people that are falling into this apathy, into saying, whatever, as long as I'm economically stable, I'm fine. I don't want problems and this kind of stuff. I feel many Russians are like this. And seeing it also, this kind of discourse, repurposing itself in the Georgian context, it's very sad. Because, I always also the impression that Georgians were will never go without a fight.
Yeah.
So.
And I remember the discussion in my family several days ago. My mom was saying, and my brothers, okay, if we stop, then what's the point? Why our ancestors died? And it makes sense, you know. Even 1 century ago, 9th of April, so why did they die?
Yeah, I've been actually
Yeah.
talking with a lot of like when the protests were peaceful, there were also a lot of old people, and there were people that you know also like were there in 1989 or in 1978, and they're still like, why am I still here in the streets?
Yeah.
But they're gonna, you know, stay there until something changes. But still, like, you know, like it's you know, it's also sad for them to see that they always hope for like the victory of Georgia, whatever victory in whatever Georgia means, like, you know, on an identity perspective. But you know, like, so there is like it's still like, this kind of situation.
Yeah, and I want to add that the identity of Georgians changed a bit because, for example, my perception of Georgia is very different from, I don't know, not my grandma, she's quite, you know, cool and open-minded, but like from old people's idea, because we had the chance to travel, meet people from different countries, to get education in different countries, in Europe mostly. There were lots of exchange programs, read lots of things on the internet. So we became more open-minded, and we integrated that liberal values into Georgian culture. So for us, Georgia, it's different. And sometimes, well, when I had this kind of discussion with one person from UK, he was like, "Oh, why do you need Europe or Russia? You can't be neutral." This kind of stuff. English people decided to be free rather than being rich, something this stupid thing. And I was like, oh my goodness, are you serious? I had this conversation on Bumble, and I was like texting him this kind of stuff, and he ended the chat. I went crazy, honestly. But what I want to say is that he said that, why don't you choose the party which is pro-Georgian? And I was thinking that, what does pro-Georgian mean? Because my perception of Georgia and my friend's perception is totally different from the perception of, I don't know, people who live in the village or people who are in the government. We have very different perception of it. And even though we talk about the same thing, which is Georgia, we have this different idea of it. Oh, have you read the book? Let me just a minute. It's like I forgot the name of the book, but it's like unbearable
Lightness of being.
Yes. Yeah. Can you remind me the author?
Milan Kundera.
Yeah, Kundera. Have you read it? Okay, so you may remember it. There is one episode like unspoken. Just a minute.
Chapter.
Yeah, chapter like dictionary, unspoken words dictionary. Do you remember that there is like, for example, cheating for one person, for the woman is totally different, and for the guy is totally different thing. So it's different, and it's like same words, but people put different meaning in it.
Sure.
Yeah. So I really love this chapter, this moment, because I was, and they were like, it's so easy when you spend your life with someone from childhood or very young age, because you put this similar meaning in words, but when you meet afterwards, it's a bit tough because you use the same words, but you mean different things.
Yeah.
So I feel the same. When we say Georgia, what do you mean? What do you mean? In my case, in my friend's case, we see Georgia as like more developing country which suffers limited resources but try to improve, and integrate liberal values and this kind of stuff, while others think that, being Georgian means to be against of gay people or being like very Christian. And when you ask them, they don't know anything about Bible. They did not read it. They just, it's called foreclosure identity. They just get this identity and they never questioned. And if they start questioning it, it will be very painful process for them. So they avoid. So yeah, it's like, it's really tough for me to talk about this, because when someone says pro-Georgian, what do you mean?
Oh yeah, I mean, everyone should be like, everyone in every country, no matter their political stance, they should be pro their own country. They just think different things are good for their country, or different things are good for themselves if they're a little bit more selfish than caring about their country as a whole. But
people from
but that's
ruling party,
such a stupid thing to say, pro Georgia, I think. I mean, if you are Georgia yourself, but
people from ruling party, they think about themselves.
Yeah,
just to be clear, only about themselves. They don't give a shit about Georgia.
So can you tell us what it's like to protest for the same general cause? Like right now you're protesting, for all the things we already talked about, but specifically to join the EU, because that's like the last thing that happened that caused these mass wave of protests, and also the elections and the regaining of power from Georgian Dream. But what it's like to protest alongside people of other generations, because there's a lot of old people, and you say that some of them, like your grandma, might be a little bit more in line with you, but maybe some of them are more like the old people that see Georgia differently, but they're still protesting alongside you.
Yeah, so it's it's well known that young people are more open-minded and have high openness, and it becomes less and less as they get older. So of course that like older people are less open to new experiences, but some of them are, so they are truly pro-European. Some of them are staying because they are really true pro-European. Some of them may not be really pro-European, but see that, okay, this is the maximum. This should not be happening. For example, like, I'm not really pro-European or anything, but for me, this course is like unacceptable. So it really depends. I still be, my grandma, my dad, they are very open-minded, and well, my mom as well. So it's a bit personal as well, right? And I think that it is kind of connected to economical situation, because lots of, Georgian Dream got votes mostly from uneducated and poor regions, like from the villages. They, of course, they fraud the results, but still they got lots of votes from there, because they don't have lots of information, they don't have access to many good things, and for them nothing changes. So it's like, I think that the problem is now the problem is that, but I think that we have more serious issue, that Georgia is very splitted, and some Georgians have access to many good things which come from USA or Europe, and some of them they kind of get access indirectly, but not that much. Some Georgians suffer a lot. They don't have money for food, and it's another issue which contributes to this problem. For them, nothing really changes, So,
yeah, that's what like what you can observe, like generally in Georgia. Also, there's so much separation between Tbilisi and everything and everywhere else. And also there are like cities in which like it's more common that there are gonna be also like more open-minded people, if we can talk about open-minded, if like the majority of Georgians do not have resources to be open-minded, like not even to survive. So like it's I agree it's a very complex situation, and also to realize this, it's a good start. Also like so also speaking of like minorities in Tbilisi themselves that were also like way like voted for Georgian Dream a lot, because they can get, you know, money to survive for the winter. And
exactly. And maybe we need to have more communication with them. Once I remember I was in Gaheti, from the project I had to evaluate children for the instrument, and I stayed with one family. My mom knew someone, so I just stayed there. And the neighbor invited us, and we were drinking wine, talking, you know. I looked like that, very neutral with black hair. And suddenly he started talking that, oh, some youngsters are very like crazy. They have piercings and colorful hair, and it's not okay. They are all really bad, you know, this kind of things. And they liked me a lot. And this time I said, well, you know, I had a piercing here. Look at it. I really had it. You may see dots. And I had colorful hair. I'm going to show you. Do you think I'm a bad person? Honestly, I don't. Well, I just like the color. That's why I had it. And he was like very, very confused and surprised. But I explained to him, yeah, I understand your confusion. My dad also was against of it. But, you know, I just liked it aesthetically. But it does not mean that I'm like...
an agent of LGBT propaganda.
Yeah, or I didn't really. Well, I am. I am.
Yeah, no, I know, but
that's propaganda. But I'm supporting them. But I didn't really. I didn't. I was like, in my case, I only had one boyfriend, which was true during this time, and I was living with him for 6 years. You know, I didn't marry. I told him, but I was like very happy with him. He was an amazing guy. And he was like, oh.
Shocked.
Yeah, and I think he just saw the different idea. And so maybe we need more resources to put more effort in that, you know, to build bridges.
Yeah.
Because it's very separated. And we live in bubbles.
Yeah.
So I have my bubble. I don't really care kind of about others. I just care about my life, you know, everyday life. So I wish we put more effort and to explain things in more a normal way. But I want to say that it doesn't mean that I justify that they vote to Georgian Dream because of his money. I don't. It's still their responsibility, and I don't think it's okay. But what I want to say is that after the protest ends, we need to put more effort to make Georgia more unit.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Because now when they say, oh, we will not have visa liberalization anymore, trust me, some people don't care because they will never be able to go there.
Yeah, of course. Some people don't even go out of their own village or their own region.
Yeah.
Like for them going to Tbilisi, it's, the vacation.
Yeah.
So like they don't care about, only like, you know, European liberal people care about that because they want to go back abroad to study, like they want to have many opportunities, but the majority does not really care, in my,
Yeah, because it's our defense mechanism, rationalization, that when we want something but we cannot get, we may tell ourselves, oh, I didn't want it anyway.
I was going to ask you about what you didn't connect with in Georgian identity, Georgian culture growing up, but I guess we touched on it quite a bit, like all these groups of people that you don't really agree with and the old ways of thinking and things like this.
You know, in my case, I can add some stuff because I was very feminist since my childhood, and I was always saying that I'm gonna live with my boyfriend who will clean the dishes and everything, and we will split everything, and we will have the same responsibilities. And they literally told me that, oh, Georgian guys will beat you, your husband will beat you till death because you didn't speak that way.
Who told you that?
My relatives, many times. And it was Honestly, I still have this anxiety, and I kind of avoid dating Georgian guys. Yeah, well, my long-term partner was Georgian, but my first boyfriend. But you know, I kind of avoid it. But for me, in the beginning, it was split it. Maybe that's why I had trouble to have a Georgian identity, because I thought that, oh, if I'm Georgian, I need to agree with these ideas, you know, very sexistic, homophobic, and so on. But then I saw another space where people were Georgians and they had liberal values. So it helped me to be more integrated.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes, we hear about, how deeply, that Georgia is a deeply patriarchal culture with a lot of, internalized violence, in any, part of the population, both in the families, general. And, but hearing about it is always, makes you understand also way more the perception of each one's identity as surviving because literally everyone can be your enemy I don't know, it's pretty anxious to think about.
Honestly, when I started living with my boyfriend, I had a huge anxiety. Even though I trusted him and he was an amazing guy, I felt that, oh, what if he beats me? I don't know why I had this. And for me, whenever he mentioned marriage, I was just panicking. I was like, no way I'm not getting married. No way. No way.
And it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because you replicate the patriarchal structures.
Yeah.
And then getting married would basically mean that it's hopeless. And if you get, beaten up, then you cannot have help because that's how it works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I was told so many times, not even by my relatives, but by my teachers as well, school teachers. They said that, guys, men cheat and you have to accept it. Yeah, it was really, really tough.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about people outside of Georgia, but I'm often just I'm not understanding why don't you trust me, people in general, why can't you just accept that I'm nice or to you or something, and I'm people don't trust each other and I don't relate to it, and stories like this help me understand you're taught not to trust, you learn not to trust, you're scared
many times,
deep rooted fear.
Patriarchal societies are always make you because it's better not to trust men. And it takes a while to, understand when someone can be and is actually not a chill person like you are. But it takes a while to understand that.
I remember one moment when I was in Bremen. I lost my key. It was night. They rescheduled the trams, and I asked some random guy for help, and he literally helped me, and he was like, okay, I will be sure that you find your place because you're so confused and stuff, and I was okay with that. And when I came there, I found out that I lost my key, and he offered me to stay at his place. I freaked out. My phone was off. I didn't know what to do. He was like, oh, are you anxious because your boyfriend will be jealous? And I was like, oh my goodness, no, it's not the point. But yeah, it was one of, he was not a jealous person, but still. But I was afraid that he would rape me or kill me. And I was like, it was my first time in my life when I decided to trust a guy, stranger. And I stayed at his place. Nothing happened. And I was shocked. He just helped me, nothing. He just helped me. He helped me to charge my phone, and then I found my key another day. But I was shocked. I could not believe that somebody would be able to help me. And after I start couch surfing and staying in different people's places, me and my friend, when we first stayed in Luxembourg, she was like, oh, he will do something bad to us. She could not believe that someone genuinely help us and nothing will happen. And even when I tell my friends some stories, they are always like, oh, I'm sure they want to have sex with you. Did they initiate it? I'm like, no. Oh, I'm sure they will find a way in the future, or I don't know. And then I tell stories. For example, I told them about you, that you corrected my essay, and they are like, no, I'm sure he wants something. No, I'm sure about it. So it's like, high mistrust. I'm happy I don't have this mistrust anymore, but it's very deep rooted, especially in women. You're smiling, it's funny, right?
He's like, I just want to be nice.
Yeah, exactly.
What? It's true.
Yeah. I was just thinking about how before that I like wasn't responding to your text, so obviously I I wasn't like looking for something. And then you actually had a request for me, and I was like, oh, I can help with that.
No, I'm sure about it. We are friends, right? No way. I used this argument because it is so obvious that we are friends that I used it as an argument.
Yeah,
that
like even in like
even
the
in this
most
case,
like like sure situation which 100% your friends like are friends that are still like in a very like very highly sensitive about men's presence and men's behaviors, like think that there's something more even than when there is not.
Yeah,
like,
so
that's the point.
I
Like,
used
the
this
perceived
argument
threat.
because it was very obvious that we are friends. Yeah.
Which is understandable, like in
Yeah.
every society that has like in which women are like constantly berated by men. You just think that it's always more comfortable to think that men want something from us, and so you can just keep your distance until you can trust them.
No, actually, I mean, I also perceive men that way. Like when I hear like I'm with one of you guys and I hear like, oh, this guy, like when one of our friends recently, like there was a guy, he talked to both of us, we both met him, and then like when he came back to WC, he only texted the girl, my friend, and I was like, he obviously only texted you, and he obviously connected with both of us like on an equal level. Like he obviously wants something from you. Like that's just how I think, and that's how you guys probably think as well.
For sure. Like if I was friends with someone and then like they wrote only to, I don't know, friends with me and another girl, and they wrote only to the other girl, I would think that I want to fuck her.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, there is not a problem if someone wants to fuck you, right?
That's
Not
Yeah.
not at all. But the problem is that when this is disguised and this, and you think that it's friendly connection and it's not. It turns out. But if something is very obvious from beginning that someone likes you and stuff, why not?
Yeah.
Like it's not always a threat. Can be fun, but
Yeah.
like you're always gonna assume that someone has some other intentions.
Yeah.
I think that's important because sometimes during conversations like this, like sex is like this is kind of considered evil or something, and I think that's like creating some of the problems itself when people are like then hiding things, like you said, like when it's disguised, and it's probably part of the reason why people disguise it is because it's not like openly acceptable, and that leads to
I think the point is that like when you perceive like when sex can be used to violence, like when the first ways in which you approach sex when you are little is through violence, like people want to abuse me, or like because sometimes like the first way in which you approach like sexuality is not in a like as a woman, is like, oh yeah, be careful of the men in the street because they could do something to you. So obviously you're not gonna grow up with a healthy feeling of sexuality, because it's always connected with threat in some ways.
Yeah, and especially when you're a Georgian woman, it's more different and difficult because sex was always very tabooed in Georgian
Also
society.
religion.
Yeah, and Orthodox.
Yeah.
It's a really, really strict one. And it's like, I don't know, masturbation, especially in women, was considered always like a like worst sin you can ever do, or sex apart from marriage, And I remember that when even though I said that I was rebel and I decided to live with my boyfriend, which was like really rare thing in Georgia 10 years ago, I felt guilty that I had sex. I felt really, really guilty. And it's part of Georgian society. So it's still different when it comes to Georgian women's identity and Georgian men's. And sometimes we joke that Georgian women are pro-European and Georgian men are pro-East, because when it comes to girls in Georgia, they have to fight a lot. I ran away from home 2 times because I needed my freedom. My brothers had it like without any issue. So I left home very early. Because I know lots of girls around me who did the same. Because when you're a woman here, you have to fight for your rights. And when you're a guy, you get everything. Yeah. So it's very different. That's why I feel that I have lots of connection with Georgian women. I feel very close to them emotionally and with values. But I struggle to have a connection with Georgian men.
Yeah, like it's also interesting to see in how many ways the Georgian society is structured, and I think like the gender divide is always like a big thing, especially in such a religious like Orthodox country as Georgia, in which like always also religion benefits men, so like structurally benefits men.
And I work at school as a psychologist, so I observe young kids, not really young, but like 14 years old and high. And it's very obvious that guys are more, conservative, and girls are more liberal and open-minded, because guys try to act according to their fathers mostly. Yeah.
I mean, because they know they're gonna benefit from the system that there's already, in act. While women do not.
Yeah. So when it comes to identity, Georgian women's identity is a bit separated as well, and we have to struggle a lot to integrate our parts, including sexuality. It's really, really tough topic, and lots of women have serious issues here.
Like last year when I had some problems and I wanted to I just wanted to have like probiotics, but the vaginal ones. I don't know if you're allowed to say it on YouTube, but whatever. Like I just wanted to have medicines.
Medicine is not evil. Medicine is medicine.
Exactly. But I couldn't find them anywhere, so I was wondering if there was like some feminist group or some organization that dealt with this kind of issues, but I didn't find anything, and I was kind of I was not surprised, because I understand how Georgian society works, but I was still this women would benefit so much to have a space in which they could talk openly about these problems, or just get access to very helpful healthcare things, and there was not stigma against having this kind of issues, because there was a lot I had very embarrassing conversations with gynecologists. They were just like, huh? And I was like, well,
now it changed, but before that they would ask you, are you married?
No, they still do.
Oh, they still
do.
Okay.
They ask me, how long have you been married for? At this point I'm not arguing, I'm just saying 2 years, when I'm not married, I just have a boyfriend. But
okay, I get it. It's quite common.
I'm not surprised, Italy is the same, but still not the same, of course, but
Georgia is more conservative.
But Italy is also very conservative, so I'm used to this kind of things.
Okay, I get it.
But
so it's very interesting topic. I always discuss it during my therapy sessions, because at the same time I'm open-minded, even in sexual topics. But at another hand, I feel guilty, and I understand that this guilt comes from culture.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have to put more effort. Georgian women have to work extra hard. That's why they are so cool at the demonstration.
They're
right?
very cool. Like every time
They
there's
are
a women's
really cool.
demonstration, you know that it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Like also like the videos of women, like you
Yeah,
know, like,
Georgian women are cool.
yeah, they're very cool.
They are brave.
You can talk.
Oh, thank you so much.
We allow you.
Do you have any more insights from being a psychologist about like something you learn about Georgian identity that other people wouldn't be so familiar with?
She sees like in the people that she talk with the divide between like already at the teenager stage, that they already have way different mindsets of society between men and women, and also you know like her work is a social work, so probably like you know like she also bases her identity a lot of the kind of work that she does and the people that she meets. So I think that everything that she said can be considered you know like out you know springing from her experience as a psychologist.
Yeah, and I want to add something that sometimes when I meet people from different countries while traveling, they say, oh, I want to follow my passion and figure out what I want. That's why I went to Asia and stuff. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, we don't give ourselves that much space to explore our identities because, you know, how can I say, when you struggle with identity, which is normal for teens especially and young people, and part of development, so psychosocial, you have to solve it, right? But for Georgians, it's like they went to demonstrations every day, young people. So their identity is like very connected to it. They don't really explore it through their passion or, oh, let's go to another country and see what I like and stuff. You know, their identity is directly connected to, oh, I have to save Georgia nowadays. So yeah, it's like for me, whenever someone tells me this kind of stuff, I feel like, oh my goodness, we have such a different reality.
But for you, it was a little bit different because you didn't really connect with your Georgian identity until recently, and you also wanted to leave.
Yeah. It was like that, but yeah, I still, you know, it was. For me, it was still, I don't know if it's part of Georgian identity or not, but I was fighting a lot. I was trying to change Georgian identity. I can say so. So it's like, I mean, I don't know why I did not really did not leave Georgia. There are many factors, I guess, for a long time, but I was trying to change the values of my colleagues and so on. So I was trying to, instead of, you know, I felt very conflicted that I did not associate it as a Georgian. So to deal with my anxieties and my issues, I decided to work outside, not only inside. You know, it was easier for me to change their values. For example, I changed my family members' values, and then I got accepted by them, and it helped me a lot. So yeah, it was my way. And I also changed my coworkers' values. I made them more liberal if they had the resource. Yeah.
Great.
That's great.
Wow.
Yeah. So it sounds amazing, right? For you, you're like, oh, she's amazing. But deep down, I did it for myself.
Of course, like, I mean, like, you just want to live in a place in which you are accepted.
Yeah, so I did it for me.
That's fine, because, like, there are lots of people that would not fight to have, like, to live in a, you know, comfortable situation for themselves, because it's a scary thing to do.
Yeah, you know.
And at least you managed to do that, like, you know.
Yeah, maybe it's my choleric temperament. I don't really know.
Maybe it's the fighting Georgian spirit.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I did it. I decided to change their values, so it would make it easier for me to be identified as Georgian.
Yeah,
you know?
because like, you know, like you can actually, like, you know, even in a small like situation, like, you know, your family, you can still like change your country for the better.
Yeah, and I wanted to be accepted. So,
Yeah.
you know, my dad gave me money for the piercing, and he bought
Oh,
the
that's a great,
hair
yeah.
dye. And before that, he was like, if you do it, you will not be my child. So, yeah, it took me 1 year to change his values.
But, you know, people grow also if they're
Yeah.
old. They can grow because they love their child.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, in my case, I did something like that. Not just left, but yeah, so.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a bit weird for me when people think too much what they want, you know, and ask so many questions. Do I want to drink this tea or that? Do I want to do it this or that? Do I want to study this or that? Because, I mean, for Georgia, in Georgia, you don't have that much space most of the case, most of the time.
Yeah.
It's like,
You don't have
it's
the
so
luxury,
limited that, yeah, it's a bit weird when I hear it.
Mm-mm.
And when they complain, oh, I have identity crisis, I understand why they have it, but I'm like, okay, do some meaningful job. There are so many stuff to do in Georgia. So yeah, Georgia's situation, it's a bit different. It's it's fueled from our social and political and economic struggles. Yeah.
But I guess, you know, obviously better than me, but I would guess that, like, for instance, indecision, like inability to make decisions, might be more of a personality trait than something that comes out of certain countries. Because I imagine that there are Georgians who react to this situation that they grew up in with inability to make decisions, right? Like, even when you say, like, you know, there's so many things to help with in Georgia, and they say, well, what's my role, or what should I do?
Well,
Not
yeah,
exactly.
It's my observation. I
Okay,
don't know if
okay,
it's true, but I've noticed that people who are from wealthier families in Georgia, and wealthy families, and also who did not have lots of challenges in their lives, they have more this kind of issues. I mean, people who grew up in the bubble don't really have connection towards people, with people who are like typical ones in middle or from low economic places. Most of the time, these kind of people have this kind of anxiety.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's true or not. It's just my observation,
Sure.
because I work with people who are really wealthy, I can say, and also with people who are from low economic background. So yeah.
Yeah, fair. Do you guys have any last topics you want to dive into, or are we wrapping up?
Like a lot of things. Like I'm totally satisfied, and I'm amazed of the conversation we just had.
I'm very grateful, because it helped me, honestly, to realize more, to understand more about my identity as a Georgian. And I realized that, well, I identified myself as a Georgian, but I didn't know I was identifying it. So yeah, it was kind of therapeutic for me. I'm very grateful.
Amazing.
I would never ever sit and think about this topic, because I kind of avoid it all the time. I don't know why, but I avoid it.
I mean, I would avoid it too if, everyday Georgian identity changes with, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So how is it couldn't be possibly a comfortable thing to, like to explore in your mind.
And maybe because of my rebellious character, I don't really want to admit.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, no,
I don't care.
No, I don't care.
But yeah, I just realized that I identify it, and I really enjoyed with the questions. Thank you. It was very interesting for me.
I really enjoyed too. Thank you both. You did such a great job, Sophie. I was like so amazed by your questions, and thank you so much, Nini. That was like, wow.
Thank you, Freddie, for creating this space for us to have this kind of conversation. and also for your amazing podcast.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
Please.
Bye.
I love this conversation. You are very smart. Thank you. You too. You too. Yeah, my English was awful sometimes, but
No.
No, you just
seriously.
underestimate yourself.
Yeah,
literally, like you explain things in such a clear way.